Getting better at board games. How do we do that? That's the question. That's what I want to ask. That's what I want to answer in this vlog, pulling in my experiences as a wargamer, pulling in my experiences as a board gaming enthusiast and as a role-playing game enthusiast. Let's kind of pack that in. Let's just create this massive well of gravity and just kind of push out what we can. Now, I'm going to limit it to one thing to kick off the conversation, get the comments going, and then I'll follow up in a few days. And I say one thing because there's a few factors at play here. When you say, Fritz, I want to get better at board gaming, the easiest answer is, well, just play more games, right? Throw some time at it. Make it an ambition. I believe in whatever you're going to do in life. Whatever you're going to do in life, big or small, let's do it the best that we can. Let's utilize quality time, create a quality experience, and try to evolve as quick as we can. So yes, there is a learning curve. Yes, you can throw some time at it and just playing games and enjoying games, you're going to develop a proficiency. But on the back end, this is one of the reasons why I like to share my tactics and ideas. Let's cut down on that learning curve. If we can play 10 games and arrive at this point with a little bit of tactica, a little bit of coaching, can we get at the same place in only playing 5 games? Can we get it down to 3 games? Can you show up right now, whatever game you played recently with the group, can you show up next week and dominate? And dominate in a respectful way. I was going to say just being a normal human being, right? Being aware that we are all friends and we are all playing. Being competitive is good, but understanding that place in the social group. So sharing one aspect that I think can have the most impact. Second thing, building on this, and in the comments we can get title specific. You say board gaming, that's a big scope. That's a big scope. I mean, in my collection, yes, 80% are dungeon crawlers, but I've got Lords of Waterdeep. I've got some Euros in there. I've got Settlers. There's different types of games, Axis and Allies, Samurai Swords. There's different types of games. So are we talking about no dice involved, complete timer, complete resource management, worker placement, extreme? Or are you talking something like Zombicide Invader where it's just massive amounts of miniatures and I'm rolling massive amounts of dice? Both are board games. In the hobby, in the board gaming hobby, or I should say lifestyle, there's massive diversity of titles. So without getting into specific titles, and we will and we can, and I have on my archive, building the presence, building the tactica, building the player personality where you can sit down and adapt to any game and win. That's the order of ambition. So the first piece that I would recommend, the first thing to try out to cut down that learning curve. At the start of the game, that is the time. That is the time to make bold, decisive moves. That is the time to take the risks. That is the time to come out of the gate with everything you have, massive momentum to build and carry that momentum and to gain advantage, whatever advantage is. Getting that piece of land to place workers because it's 2-to-1 resources. The advantage might be being able to grab that treasure first in the dungeon room or search that loot twice in Zombicide Invader. The beginning of the game is the time to do it. And here's why. Games, as they progress, they scale up. There has to be progression because that's what keeps the game interesting and that's what propels it to an end condition. And that end condition, that win condition, whether it's a co-op or competitive type game, with this progression, as the game goes on, more becomes available to the players, more works against the players. It's not that your choices change or there's less options, but there's more resistance to those options. So let's kind of look at a worker placement resource game. We pick our character. Your character is going to have certain abilities. I'm getting kind of generic here, but we're trying to capture the feel. You have certain generic abilities. Maybe you can mine 2-to-1. Maybe you get an extra turn. Maybe you get whatever resource card if you draw it. And then you have a starting place on the map. And some places might have a slight advantage or disadvantages. But at that start, all the other players are at minimal resources. All the other random factors in the game, maybe AI factions or aspects, they're not in play yet. So the path of least resistance to oppose whatever your ambitions are going to be, now's the time to do it. Now's the time to take those risks. And if it doesn't work out, for whatever reason, you have turns to catch up. Once you move into the mid-game, every single game has a timer. The start, mid-game, end game. They all follow that pattern. That's just the DNA of a board game, because we have an ending and we have a win condition. So there's going to be this start, middle, end. When you get into the mid-game, players have numerous resources. Their strategies are starting to develop. If it's a co-op, Zombicide Invader, the AI has spawned lots and lots of aliens you're fighting. You've got some resources. There's some resources you can't grab because those parts of the board are shut off. So you can still make bold decisions to gain massive advantage, but there's going to be resistance against you. And of course, endgame, maximum resistance, players and yourself, maximum power level, that's really where it's kind of mop up. So early on, bold moves. Mid-game, now it's about making alliances, working together as a team. It's more kind of soft skills as opposed to hard skills. And then endgame is the fine-tuning, or what I call the Armageddon option. And I say this in humility, and I say this in the spirit of love and social community, playing board games. I go into the end game of a board game, if it's not a co-op, I go into the end game if it's competitive, where I'm going to try and win and I'm going to try and position myself. But as we start the end game and we start to wind down, if I see I can't, then I just want to self-destruct everybody else. I want to take out whoever's going to be number one. I want to just make that bold mark on there and just, complete scorched earth tactics. Or if it's a co-op game and I see that we're going to lose, I give it my best. But if I see like we're hopelessly surrounded, we're going to lose, I'll either sacrifice myself. I need to go out in glory. I need to go out guns blazing, sword swinging, magic zapping. I'm going to go out, say my name. That type of aspect. That's kind of on a side note. I'm getting off on a side tangent. But early on, if there's the one tactic I could give to get better, if you're going to make your bold moves, get that momentum early on in the beginning, and that's going to position yourself mid-game, end-game, and that's going to give you the most opportunities with the least amount of early resistance.